Okay, let's unpack this. The opioid crisis. We've all heard the headlines, right?
Yeah.
But what does it really mean? For individuals, for families, society, our mission today really is to take your sources and dive deep. We want to get into the science, the human impact, those hidden costs, the goal for you to walk away truly well-informed.
Yeah, and it's maybe good to start with, well, what are opioids?
Right.
It's a whole class of compounds. Some are natural, like morphine. Others, semi-synthetic, think heroin, oxycodone.
Okay.
And then you have the synthetics, like fentanyl. They all hit specific receptors in the body.
And fentanyl keeps coming up.
It does. What's really striking is its potency. Fentanyl is roughly 50 times stronger than heroin.
50 times. Wow.
And maybe 100 times stronger than morphine. That makes it a primary driver, a huge factor in overdose deaths now.
So when we talk about how opioids affect the body, it gets really interesting, doesn't it? It's way more than just pain relief.
It is. And this raises a really important question. How does it work?
Yeah, what's the mechanism?
Okay, so opioids bind to these things called mu receptors. Think of them like specific locks in your brain and body.
Got it. Locks.
When the opioid key fits, you definitely get pain relief, strong pain relief. But here's the kicker. Those same locks, those mu receptors, they also control breathing, and they trigger euphoria.
So that's the double-edged sword. Pain relief, but also breathing risks and potential for dependence.
Exactly. The very thing that helps with pain is also tied to the most dangerous side effects, like respiratory depression.
So the brain's own reward system, the one that makes us feel good for, eating or healthy stuff,
Right.
it basically gets hijacked.
Pathologically hijacked is a good way to put it.
Yes. But how does that work? If it feels good at first, how does it turn into just needing it to feel, well, normal?
Right. So opioids flood the brain's reward centers. They trigger this massive dopamine release, way more intense than anything natural.
Like pressing the pleasure button over and over.
Precisely. And crucially, this often happens without significant pain being present. That intense, repeated activation starts to rewire the brain.
Rewire it. How?
It creates this compulsive drive. It changes brain structure and function. That's why we understand opioid use disorder, OUD, as a chronic brain disorder. It's not a matter of willpower at that point.
And the body adapts so fast, right? Tolerance builds quickly.
Incredibly quickly. Sometimes just days or weeks. You need more and more for the same effect.
Right.
And then if you try to stop...
Withdrawal, which sounds horrific.
It is debilitating.
Right.
And this is key. People often get trapped. They're not chasing a high anymore.
No.
They're driven by this desperate, overwhelming need to just stop the withdrawal symptoms, to feel normal again. It becomes about avoiding agony.
That paints such a grim picture. The brain hijacked, the body trapped, leading tragically to overdose. The stats are just awful, but understanding the why, especially with fentanyl now, feels even more urgent.
Well, the biggest risk factors are dose and potency. And fentanyl is the game changer there.
Because it's hidden in other drugs.
Exactly. Unknowingly mixed into heroin, cocaine, counterfeit pills. People often have no idea they're taking it. By 2022, it was involved in nearly 70% of all drug overdose deaths.
70%. That's staggering.
It really is. And it means public health has to shift. We need universal harm reduction. Things like carrying naloxone, the overdose reverser.
Right, Narcan?
Yes.
Yeah.
And using fentanyl test strips. Even if someone doesn't think they use opioids, the risk of contamination is real.
And it's not just fentanyl, right? Other factors.
Oh, definitely. Polysubstance using more than one drug is involved in over half of overdose deaths. And tolerance changes dramatically. Someone released from jail, for instance, their overdose risk can be 40 times higher.
40 times. Just devastating. And these ripples, they go way beyond the individual user, families, kids.
Absolutely. The impact on children is profound. We're talking 2.2 million kids affected by a parent's OUD.
2.2 million.
Yeah. It means higher risks for them, ADHD, neglect, trauma, and sadly, a higher risk of developing their own substance use issues later. It's an intergenerational cycle.
A cycle of vulnerability. And then there's the economic cost, which is just mind-blowing.
It truly is. Get this. For 2023, the estimate was $2.7 trillion.
Trillion with a T.
Trillion. That's almost 10% of the entire U.S. GDP.
How is that even possible? What makes up that cost?
Well, here's what's really telling. It's not mostly healthcare bills or crime costs. Those are factors. The biggest chunks: consistently,
Yeah.
are the value placed on lives lost to overdose, about $1.1 trillion, and the reduced quality of life for people living with OUD, around $1.3 trillion.
So the main economic driver is the human cost.
Mm-hmm.
Loss of life, loss of well-being.
Precisely. It underscores that this is fundamentally a human tragedy with enormous economic consequences, not the other way around.
And even with all this understanding, prevention and treatment face huge hurdles, like stigma.
Huge hurdles. Stigma is a massive barrier. It stops people asking for help. It affects how they're treated. It undermines everything.
Right.
And add to that, the drug supply itself is constantly changing, becoming more dangerous with these synthetics. It's an unprecedented challenge for prevention.
It really screams for a response that hits all angles. Prevention, treatment, and harm reduction all working together.
Absolutely. It has to be comprehensive.
So, wrapping this up, thinking about everything we've discussed.
Yeah.
OUD as a brain disorder, the main cost being human life and well-being, the unpredictability of the drugs out there.
So if you, our listener, know all this now, maybe the question to sit with is, how does this change how you think about addiction, how you talk about it, and how you might support those affected right in your own community?